Hey, it's Victoria, and you are now listening to the Pass Rush Podcast with your host, DJ Clennon.
Welcome to the Pass Rush Podcast. I'm your host, DJ Clennon. You'll be seeing me, well, a lot. And I got a special guest here for you today. He is a former high school 4-star college recruit. He went on to Missouri to play in the SEC. Things happened, which we'll get to. He went on to Murray State. Things happened, we'll get to. And he's one of the greatest players I've ever seen. Now, with that being said, a lot, again, that happened in between those lines outside of the game of football that shaped his career is the things TJ wants to finally talk about. And he chose the Pass Rush Podcast to be the place to do so. I appreciate that. I appreciate him for being the first ever interview guest for the Pass Rush Podcast. So, as we're getting started, sack the like button, sack the subscribe button, sack everything. That's our mantra here, sack everything. So, again, we got the man, TJ to John Warren, the reflection of after college football. What is life like?
It's a blessing to be on here. It's amazing to actually be your first. It's a humble experience. I've been through a lot. A lot of people don't know what I've been through. It's crazy that you hit me up about this because, I'm going through grad school now, and it's a lot of reflection just on yourself before you can help somebody else. And so, this is my, I've been kind of just muddling in it so far about handling how I want to tell the story and what happened at Mizzou, the reasons why I left. And then what happened, why I changed when I got to Murray State, that's just what you got to accept. You got to accept your past. You got to accept what happened, and that's what we got to move forward. So I'm excited to explore that journey.
And yeah, exploring those journeys comes with a lot of different things, bro, where when you play, you're behind that identity of this is me, this is all that I am, this is all that I know, being a football player. I know, and you know this as well, that when you're playing and you're behind that mask, most people are a different person. Like, you have your separate identity of like, okay, this is me when I'm playing, this is me without that. And without a solid rock, a solid, person in your family, mine is my dad, without that, you can kind of lose yourself in between, blurring those lines, whether this is who I am outside the game and this is who I am during the game. For you, I know you're very close with your mom. So let's talk about how much your mom has impacted your life, and what would you have to say for that?
That was huge, man. Actually seeing my mother work and seeing her perseverance, honestly, really pushed me to do things that I was like, okay, if she can do it, I know for sure I can get it. I did have my father in my life, so it wasn't always like a single parent. It's just that who I saw on a day-to-day basis was my mom. So seeing that on a day-to-day basis and just seeing her grind and her effort, it never, it didn't leave my head when I went off to college. When I had to go through my mat drills or when I had to go to my conditioners, it always reminded me, yeah, it's hard, but just remember your mom did it for all these years. So I never took that for granted. And now, like you said, our relationship is more thriving than ever. That's like my best friend. I call her, we talk. I hear her issue, she hear mine. We laugh about it, we cry about it. But we both push each other, and I just think that's a stronghold and somebody I'm glad I had someone to lean on, and I had her in my corner just because I tell her all the time, it was a blessing to have you in my corner. She don't think of it, she think I'm her person, and I'd be like, nah, bro, like I've been through a lot, I've seen a lot, and it's, it's because you never really, held me back, nor, been shy of showing me certain things. So I would say that was she's definitely a huge key role in my life.
Love to hear that, bro, that you have somebody special in your life, like your mom, like that in your life. Now, I know also that you have AJ and Asia as well. They was really close with you. But outside of that, you have your dad, which you spoke about, that you lost as well. How has life been like without having him? And how has that changed your way that you see life now as a man, finding yourself without your father?
It's hard, man. It's hard, especially when I lost him during 2020. Because right when that happened, we'll talk about it later, but COVID happened, took the scouts off the road. That's when the year I was supposed to come out for the NFL. Dreams coming true. That's when I was, to me. So losing him when all that happened and I didn't get my chance because the scouts were taking out the road, it was kind of hard. I didn't know what to do. That's when I was just becoming into a man. As we think as a young adults, especially young man, we always think like, man, we about to become an adult when we hit 19, 18, 20. But it's really when you hit that age of 23, 24, right when you get out of college and now you're in the real world for real, man. So it was hard because obviously nobody experienced this before. Nobody experienced COVID, but I just didn't have a man that I could talk to about, hey, I'm about to start my life. What should I do? How should I look for it? And it was hard, but now I take it day by day and remember like, hey, he installed a lot of great, lessons in me when I was a kid. It's just time to go to the storage box, honestly. And so that's just what I've been doing. Just really just trying to dig deep and find those deep memories of what my dad taught me to keep going.
And you're right, man. You're so right, because when you lose somebody like that in your transitional years from going from teen to manhood, you really lean on that knowledge that you get, that you constantly are able to get. I couldn't even imagine not being able to call my dad and be like, hey, dad, like I got this, and this I'm trying to do, or whatever the case may be, even if it's just, wanting to vent a little bit. And my condolences there for that. But man, adulthood is different than our years of being a teen. You gotta get groceries now.
I did that today. My check looks crazy. I'm like, God damn, I just got paid the 15th. Make it. I mean the 31st. Like I'm already looking crazy. I'm like, oh my God. But like you said, you gotta get what you gotta get.
Things. I feel like things are way more expensive than they used to be. Like I remember, like when we used to go to the grocery store and stuff with our kids. With our parents when we was kids, bro. And you'll see like two shopping carts, and it's like $200-300 worth of stuff. Now you might have half a cart for the same amount of money. So it's just really ridiculous. But just moving forward to more things that shaped your life is that you spent a lot of time in Metro Atlanta area growing up, but you also spent a lot of time down there in Columbus, Georgia as well. You got a lot of tight knit family down there. You played ball down there when you was younger as well. How did that shape your career and letting you know like this is the type of player I want to be after mixing the two styles together?
Yeah, obviously, we like to say it. We like to keep to ourselves and stay to our space in Atlanta, and like build our own lives. But she did give us that healing of going to Columbus and having that strong foundation and seeing my family members, and they always encouraging me when I go down there and see them or when they come at the games. It was really a huge factor in my life. So I just say I was grateful for it. Honestly, going down there every summer with my dad made a huge deal in my life too, because not only am I going against great athlete caliber in Metro Atlanta, I was also going down there to the South and going against that caliber. So I think that's what helped me, form my change of play within football, basketball, or track, just because of going down there and I was being exposed to new things, new trajectories, and just meeting new people, just seeing new techniques I can craft my game. So it was a great experience.
And yeah, so you took those things that you learned from down there and you go on to Conyers Middle School and then Rockdale County High School. But the thing I want to touch on the most is Rockdale County High School. Looking back at your career, what would you say about your high school time? Like, what was that like being at Rockdale? I'm letting some film play right here to show the people like this is the type of player you were. Again, I want to give you your flowers. One of the greatest players I've ever seen. But reflect on Rockdale for us, and how did that impact things for you?
Um, the time in high school, I can say, was the time I should have honestly, took it more serious. If I can go back, as though you can't rewrite the past. The past is, like you said, I made a lot of great moments. I did a lot of great things, but touching in this, the knowing my athletic caliber of now, I'm at 26 and I still do a couple fun things. Like I get out there with my players, or I'm doing this. I'm in this flag 7-on-7 league now. Just being at Rockdale, it's just I wish I would have understand what the potential I had and understand like, hey, I can be the athlete I really wanted to be. I hear it now all the time. I should have played quarterback, and I feel like I should have took that more serious. I had the time my 10th grade year to do that, and I didn't. But things happened. I still was able to play to my full capacity at all the other positions. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't change nothing that happened at Rockdale. Rockdale was a great time for me. Obviously, I wish I would have took school a little bit more important, just so I didn't have to stress myself that last semester of high school. Just for anybody that's here, this, make sure you please do your grades, 9th and 10th grade. So 11th, 12th grade, you're really just chilling. I didn't take that serious. So that's just probably the hardest thing I would have said I would have changed about high school was taking this grade serious, just because that last semester when I thought I signed to Mizzou, signing day was amazing. And they literally was like, look, if you don't get your grades right, we're going to send you to our JUCO. And I was like, I ain't going to JUCO. And so that was my motivator that last semester of high school was like, hey, I got to come out. And they literally told me, you have to come out with all A's or we got to see you to our JUCO. And they were like, well, your signing would still stand, but we got to send you to our JUCO. And I just couldn't do that. So I just feel like that's probably the biggest thing I would say I had to change about high school. But everything else, Rockdale was a town where it supported you and it loved you, and they graced their athletes. And Rockdale was probably a town I'm glad I was able to grow in and be able to meet a lot of great friends like you, and just excel my game, to have people around me to push me to do certain things.
Definitely agree with you on the time at Rockdale. Grades definitely wasn't something that I don't think a lot of teenagers at the time, when you're a really good player, you're not really thinking about that. You're like, oh man, school. Like, I get to it when I get to it. Like, I'm passing, I got C's, it's cool. Like, that's kind of how you look at it. But you just got to find that balance to keep yourself in check. Now, with Rockdale, we went 5-5 our senior year. Should have done way better than that. We played against Colquitt in the first round of the playoffs. We got destroyed. We got destroyed from them. And then just reflecting upon all the talent that you was able to see. Now, you went on to Missouri, again, 4-star college athlete. But looking at the list, like, I've had some time to reflect as I was doing, setting up this interview. We played over 40 Division I college football players. And just to name a few of them, we played Preston Williams, Duke Shelley, Jonathan Ledbetter, DeAndre Walker. We played with guys like Kentavious Preston, Robert McCray. Just, it's the list goes on and on. I can literally name forever. But out of all the people that you've seen, like, how I see them and how you see them is going to be completely different. But who would you say, I should say, is gave you the hardest time as a athlete in high school? Like, who's the best player you ever seen?
In time in high school, yeah, oh, man. I mean, obviously, like you said, the Preston Williams, Duke Shelley's, but I mean, obviously, the one that probably just sticked out to my radar. Obviously, you got to give credit to those guys that were 4 or 5-star athletes. They're still playing in the league to this day, and I can honestly say, like, I played against them. It feels good to sort of tell your athletes now, hey, I played against that guy, or I had got good film against that guy. But probably the most one that probably gave me, every year it was, a battle, or he taught me sometimes just because I wasn't on my game, was probably this man named Sosa. He was from Newton County. Great guy, great receiver, great all around athlete as well. can play on both sides of the ball. Very dynamic guy. It was just every time I lined up against him, I know it was a battle. Even from 7-on-7 in the summer to last game of the year, because that was our region. It was definitely, I can say he's probably one of the best athletes I've ever come across in high school. Like I said, I'm not taking nothing away from Preston. I'm not taking away nothing from Duke Shelley, but those are one-dimensional players. You know for sure, Preston just a receiver. He's not going to play on defense. Shelley just playing on defense. He might get a sweep here and there on offense, but the guy Sosa, he real life was, very involved in the offense, the offense surrounded around him. On defense, he was a very key player. So, I think that's probably the best athlete toe-to-toe I had to go against.
Now, again, we played against so much talent, bro. Like over 40 Division I college football players with or against, and others who even had the talent to play there that we didn't even name, like somebody like Keejan A. Thomas, man, who just talent for days. Now, for Rockdale County High School football players, it's not a lot of times that you go on to get a chance to play in the SEC. It just doesn't happen that often in our area. But for you was able to stand out and catch the eye of not only Missouri, but you had Marshall, you had Indiana, and you had Georgia Tech. Most of the time, the home team wins. Georgia Tech, they like, hey, now would you probably had the grades to go to Georgia Tech? We don't know. But for Missouri, you chose Missouri, almost just as a prestigious school there. What did they do to convince you to say, hey, this is the place for me? Like, how did they beat out the hometown team, and how did they beat out Indiana and Marshall for you?
First thing is, I had a lot of schools, a lot of big D1 schools. It's just that me and Elder kept those under the radar just because he saw I committed, and he asked me if I was, very loyal to it. And I told him, yeah. But there was a lot of schools that did come in that was very, Power 5 schools that, came in and did ask about me just a little bit. You got Louisville, you got Wisconsin, Nebraska. I had those schools come in, and throw offers on the table. Like I said, that we kept that under the radar just because I had already committed to Missouri. But I chose Missouri just because, I have family up there. I'm not from there. I always get that, oh, you have family or you're from there. It was nothing like that. That wasn't even really even in the factor of why I chose them. I chose Missouri. Coming out of high school, you got to look at it. Who's the hottest team at the moment? Who's the team where it's up and coming? They, there's someone that's trying to make a name for themselves. They had SEC. They won SEC East back-to-back East champions, 2014 and 2015. You can't argue with that. Coming out of high school, you can't argue with that. So showing that being recruited, that's something that you want to see, and it's in the SEC. So knowing that it's in the SEC, you're going into one of the best conferences out here, one of the top Power 5s. So that, and knowing that it was a great academic program. Like I said prior to, I wasn't a big academic person coming out of high school, but I wanted to make that shift when I got to college. I wanted to make sure, hey, if I go to a college, it's a school that's strong on academic. They were strong academically. Like I said, they was SEC East back-to-back champions. So I was feeling like if I go there in the next couple of years, we can do another SEC East championship. The following year, my sophomore year, we're going to be SEC champions. So, I had the map all planned out for me. It was a lot of good reasons. Missouri is just a school that I know I can develop at. They don't have a lot of hype around it, so it wouldn't be a lot of media, and it wouldn't be a lot of, what's going on here in Missouri. It was just a lot of build, underdog work, going to work every day. And that's what stuck out to me at Missouri. It's a lot of underdogs and a lot of, hey, let's just put our work hats on and let's go to work. And I respected that big time, especially coming from Coach Elder. He played under Bear Bryant over at Alabama. So that what he instilled in us from when he got there our 10th grade year, going into our 10th grade summer, what he instilled in there from then to when I graduated and when I walked out of the doors right there, it showed me that I had to be somewhere that's going to challenge me mentally and physically and emotionally. And Missouri did. And That's what so probably was one of the reasons why I was like, I have to go there.
So yeah, basically Missouri just sparked your drive to say like, hey, I want to be somewhere where I get a chance to compete. My competitive nature is flowing. Missouri is giving me that. They're giving me that drive to say like, hey, bro, come here and you got a chance to be a champion. Something that we never had a chance to do. So I totally respect that. They had a great defense in the times leading up to the time that you went there in 2015. Now, again, when I see your film, I think of you as an offensive player. Missouri looked at you as a defensive player. Although you was rated as an 4-star athlete, so you could play either side when you was on your way up to Missouri. But you get to Missouri, you redshirt the first year. You redshirt, you enjoy your time as a redshirt, learning under the players that's there. After that, you go on to get some playing time in your freshman year, rotating in, learning the ropes, seeing the game in the SEC. Then you get to the chance to your sophomore year where all the hype around you is like, you're going to start. You have a chance to really start. You have a chance to really do something great for this defense. You have been playing the safety in the nickel position. But something took place that kind of spiraled a downturn for you at Missouri. What happened at Missouri that led to you not starting your sophomore year? Because everybody thought you was going to be the guy. Finally, they're like, oh, man, TJ's been hyping it up. That number 2 on the field, he's doing his thing. He made some plays. We'll love to see what he can do on a consistent basis. And it just doesn't happen. Why?
Yeah, this is a struggle. It's probably one of my hardest times in my college career, in football career, period. Missouri was a great time. I gotta tell everybody, please, go to college. Those 4 to 5 years are the best years of your life. That's the years where you're taken away from society. It's the years where that college town is who you are. And that's where you can build up who you are, personality, your identity. You can determine who you want to be. And that's why I love and why I push on my athletes. And currently as me as a teacher, that's why I push along to my students, go to college, think about college, that's who you're going to build who you are as an identity person. That's who you're going to be. And so, but that time going into that 2017 season, my redshirt sophomore season, like you said, I had a lot of hype going into that season, trying to be a projected starter. Earlier that year, it was January of 2017. I got a call from NCAA. And NCAA, I was walking on Georgia Gwinnett campus. I remember I was there to see my friend. We was about to go play basketball with him. And I got a call right before I returned to campus. I think I was leaving in the next couple of days. And they called me and they said, hey, NCAA want to, interview you. I like, what's going on? Why do NCAA want to talk to me? They said, hey, it was a tutor here at Missouri. Her name was, I won't say. She was like, hey, the tutor came out talking about she helped all these college athletes at Mizzou. So I was like, all right, I have nothing to hide. She didn't help me because it was a prior spring before. So that's spring 2016. I wanted you had to take college algebra to continue down the course of study I was in. And I really like college algebra. I just needed a refresher. I've been out of high school for a minute, but I really like algebra. So I was like, algebra's straight. I just need to, get a refresher. They gave me her for a couple of weeks because the way how Mizzou works is you have to take a placement test. So the placement test is to see if you need to be intermediate in math or you can go straight to college algebra and take that one credit. And, that's what you need to graduate. So I was like, I'm pretty good. I don't need to, I just need to be refreshing and I'll be straight to take the test, the placement test. So she, we worked for about two and a half, roughly around 3 weeks. I was ready, took the test, passed with an 80 point. That was, like I said, in the spring of 2016. Played that whole 2016 season. Boom, boom, boom. So like I said, I had a great name for myself. So 2017, so like I said, that's January, right before mat drills, right before the spring ball. I had this meeting in January of 2017. Didn't hear nothing from them. Continued the spring, continued with the fall camp. Summer, went through summer, killed summer. Conditioning, I was the most conditioning. Like I was ready. Going into fall camp, I was the 2. I was ready to take the number 1 spot. First day of fall camp. I get in after that, all the meetings. That night comes around. After the last team meeting, right before we have our position meeting, before we go home, they come to me. They say, "Hey, head coach want to talk to you." I'm like, "Damn, first day, I don't know what I did." I go upstairs. I talk to him. He hit me. He said, "Hey, look, diverted back from when you talk to the SEC, NCAA back in January, the verdict came back, and I kind of forgot about it, but it hit me right then. I'm like, yeah, well, what happened?" And they literally said, "Yeah, you're suspended for the first 7 games." So I was, academically ineligible for the first 7 games of that redshirt sophomore career. A lot of people don't know that very soon. But yeah, I was hit with an academic ineligibility for that consequence of that. The details was very vague. She told them herself she tried to help me. Evidence that showed that she tried to help me and said, and I told her no several times when she tried to help me, but they looked at it as, well, the test said you shouldn't have had nobody in the room, and I lied about it. But I was looking at it as I was a young guy. I was just clicking through them. I'm trying to get to the test so I can get outside with my friends. But at the end of the day, they don't care about things like that. They just told me, you better be grateful we didn't take all your years. And, stuff like that, you just gotta take it with a grain of salt. So like I said, 7 games. And they told me, hey, you'll be able to appeal it, after the 3rd game. So I had to wait to the 3rd game of the season just to even appeal it. So that anyway, even if it was, I can knock it down to 4 games, 5 games, I still was missing 3 games regardless. So I tried to appeal it, and they told me, they knocked it down to 6 because the 7th game was a UGA game, and I was like, I got to play there. I'm from Georgia, I got to play. And so I think they was gracious enough to give me 6-game suspension, and that's and I went into that 2017 season, but going into that, I'm practicing on what they call it, practice squad. It's not practice squad in the league. In college, it's called I forgot what it's called, the scout team. I was scout team.
Yeah,
so, I had to play scout team for those first 6 weeks. Georgia week came around. I went into that week very excited, very amped. If college players know, whoever hear this, you get 4 tickets, right? You get 4 tickets to, for each game you go to. I got up to 30 tickets. A real college athlete knows that work. Like, I had 4 tickets. That's what you start off with. I ended with the 30, and just doing that, it was, it was hard. But that week of that Wednesday, I twisted my ankle, so I had to miss that game. And I didn't play until like the 6th, 7th game anyway, and I was like, I should have just stayed on it. But the following game, I failed the drug test, our homecoming, and so it was hard for me that 2017 season just to find a footing, just because I was mentally unstable, and that's why I'm big on now where I'm studying mental health counseling. And I was mentally unstable just because I just never experienced anything like that before. I was always the guy, like, hey, I was a good character guy. Nobody really messes with me. That's how I was in Rockdale. So now that it was hard for me in college, I didn't know how to deal with this situation. I didn't know how to deal with that. And it was very hard for me. So I was, like I said, I failed the drug test. And so when I came back, I got a pick, but it didn't feel like me. And it was very hard for me to shake back and to get back. I finished a great season, but it was very hard for me to be in the space that I needed to be in.
And what you're saying is so true, is that when you get in a bad situation and something that you never had to deal with before, it's really hard to feel like anybody will understand where you're coming from at the time. Just given like how we think as teens, like, man, I just got suspended for 7 games. I come back, you fail a drug test, you spiral, and you just get to the point where you're like, man, I'm just down. Like you really don't even care about what you're doing anymore. And when you get to that point, you really need somebody to help you, but you're not even looking for the help, even if they're trying to give it. And that's what kind of happened at Missouri, where you just seems like you got to the point where I don't even care anymore. Like, if they gonna play me, they gonna play me. I mean, like, it knocked the wind out of your sail. Like, man, I had all this hype behind me, and then something came and just took it all away. Like, all right, now I'm out for 7 games. Okay, I'm about to come back early and play against Georgia. Nope. Okay. You come back, you get drug tested after that, after just being hurt. And you're just like, man, what else could happen? Like, I don't even care. Like, at this point, they took everything that I love away from me. And we get in that ball, as football players, where without the game at that time, when you're like first getting that first little bit of sense of detachment from it, that you really don't have an identity outside of that. And that's what we saw here. And the cool thing, though, is that wasn't the end for you. Like, oh, man, you left Missouri and that was it. Because you was able to pull yourself out with your support system, your mom, your brother, your dad, all your friends. You was able to pull yourself out of it and get to Murray State. So let's talk about that. But before we get started on Murray State, let's talk about the process on actually getting to Murray State, because you had a chance to enter something that's popular these days, the transfer portal. Now, when you go to the transfer portal, you usually can play right away nowadays. Like, you can go to the transfer portal, you go to Florida State and switch over, go to Florida in 2 weeks. Now, will the NCAA grant you your playing time? That's up for discussion, but you can do it. Back then, you couldn't just go from big school to big school. You had to sit out a whole year. And with you going into your junior year, I'm sure that was like, nah, that's not an option for me. Like, I actually want to get on the field. That was kind of why I was spiraling last year. Like, y'all took that away from me. I need that back. But you also can go today and say, like, hey, if I'm coming to your school, I need to let me get some of that. Back then, you weren't supposed to do none of that either. Like, you just like, hey, I'm coming to the school. I'm going to play football. And, well, what else happens, it happens. What else happens, it happens. But Murray State's not close to home. They're not nowhere near Georgia. You got no friends from Missouri there. But you was able to go to Murray and have a good career. But what made them stick out to all the offers that you had in your time of leaving Missouri?
Fuck, it's crazy. Now I'm really thinking about it. I never really told it. I'm finding out the truth right now. That's crazy. With you asking that question, but yeah, coming out at that time, it was cool. I was still, a hot commodity. Everybody when the SEC dropped down, especially, and I had, valid film. It wasn't it wasn't I'm transferring because I'm getting no play, or I'm transferring because it's the regular excuses you hear. Not saying they're excuses. Things happen. I do see it. I do see politics play in a huge role in college football. I see it, if the owners don't like it, they're going to say something. And it's not that the coach, not saying the coach don't have control of his team, but the boosters make sure, they see who they want if the players making plays. Because there's a lot of great guys I was up there in Mizzou with, but the guys they was playing behind or not even getting an inch on the field because of another player, just because they were either from that close city or because they had a household name, things happen, things work the way they do. I had legit film, so I had a lot of good commodity coming out around, but it was different. It wasn't like, oh, I can go from Missouri to Georgia, or Missouri to Florida, or I did have those options with some schools. Those was the first schools I did get in contact with, was a lot of Power 5 schools, because of my name coming out and stuff like that. So a lot of those Power 5 schools did hit me up, but I wasn't a grad transfer. So I couldn't come in and play right away. I only had 2 more years left. So if I would have went somewhere, it had to be D1 AA or D2. It couldn't be a D1. If it was D1, I didn't learn about this until after I committed, that you can go somewhere that's near your state. All you got to do is tell NCAA, hey, I'm going here for family reasons, it's personal reasons why I'm leaving, stuff like that. So, it was great. I thought I was smart and like, hey, I've been through this recruiting process once. I know what to look for. I know I know the road. And I didn't even think about that for myself. I tell everybody else that now, hey, be aware of this, be aware of this. But I wasn't thinking that of myself. I was just thinking, damn, who's still paying? Who's still paying? Yeah, to be honest, like as 18, 19-year-old kid, 20-year-old kid, bro, like every month you getting $1,500 into your bank account. That's all you cool about. Like, I'm getting paid. I got $1,500 to my name every month. Like, I got free food every day. I get fed breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'm playing the game I want. I got free clothes every other week. Like, you know what I mean? It was a point in time I stopped buying clothes just because we was getting so much from the football team. So it was like I was looking at it like, dang, I know what I'm supposed to be looking for, but I'm looking for the money too. So I ain't gonna lie, that was the reason why I chose Murray State. It wasn't because they was probably the top ones in the OVC, because they wasn't. And it wasn't because they had this beautiful stadium or they had this beautiful amenity. They had so many things that accommodate the athletes, which they did to a certain extent, but it wasn't until Mizzou, what I was used to. I chose Murray State solely off the fact because they still pay. And was it right? No, because I should have probably went to Alcorn. Alcorn State put out, NFL time. They was always in the Celebration Bowl. So I should have went there, but I did it just because I felt like an HBCU didn't pay. And that's the consequence. Like I said earlier, that's just the things you got to live with. When you make these decisions, when you make these consequences, when you make these choices in your life, you got to live with them. And so that's the reason why I went to Murray. And it was because they still was paying their athletes a stipend every month. But I got there and it's probably the best for me.
And that's fair. That's fair to say. And at Murray, it's not like you didn't have talent around there, with you outside of, getting paid. Everybody wants to get paid. Whether you gonna say it or not, if you picking a school, you hoping that something come more than with the scholarship. That's just kind of, what you want to have, because college is hard. Sometimes you're struggling. And as an athlete, people are making millions of dollars off your name. Was a couple dollars. You feel me? So, but at Murray, you went on to play with Quincy Williams. He had a chance to go on to play in the NFL. But what's cool of also, playing with Quincy, he's, as you call it, your brother, in the Omega Psi Phi fraternity. He was able to be a part of that journey for you as well. Now, you went to Murray State looking for just money, but you also found your brotherhood as well with the fraternity that you decided to be with. Now, what led to you saying like, hey, I'm at Murray State now, I want to go ahead and pledge. Like, that's something that I want to do. I want to go ahead and pledge as well. What went into that as well? Because not everybody goes to college and think like, hey, I want to go be a part of a fraternity or sorority. So you got people like me who just like, I'm good with just being in nothing. If it ain't sports, I'm good. I don't want to be in none of that. Do I regret that? Sure. I feel like I should have been more social, more into things, but with a fraternity, not something I don't feel like I would have done, but it really changed your life, and it made you definitely another layer of who you are today. So again, what went into joining that fraternity, and how was that experience as well?
To be honest, slight to I was on at Missouri. I tried to go pursue for the fraternity I am in now, Omega Psi Phi fraternity. I tried to pursue at Missouri. Complications happened that I couldn't, failed there. So Murray State, it was, like a refresher. Like I was coming in my freshman year at Missouri. I took it as in, you got to re-identify yourself. You have to build the athlete who you're destined to be. That's who you got to build in here. And I have to give all credit to Murray State. It's a small town, bro. It's not a lot of distractions. It's either you're doing this. That's how your Saturdays work. You're either doing a house party, you're either at the house, or you're either doing the frat houses with the chop people or the Sigma Chi people. Those white fraternities on the campus. So it's either you're doing one of those. So after a while, after you've seen the same people, you're not running to do it. And Murray pulled me back so much that it helped me identify by how Dominic Toretto, it's going to sound funny, it's going to sound corny, but how no cap, but how, it's a movie, but like how he say he lived his life at a quarter of a mile at a time. He only worry about what's going on in those 10 seconds. That's how I see life. You only can worry about what's going on right now in front of you. I can't worry about what's going on in the future. I can't worry about what's going on in the past. You only can worry about what's going on right now in your face, those first 10 seconds. And so knowing that and seeing that helped me into some ways that I love Murray for him. Murray gave me that sense of, hey, try to sit back a little bit and see things for a while. So going to pursue Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated again, it helped me out so much. I had line brothers that, was in the same position as me. I had, a line brother that was in collegiate basketball when Murray was at the top of the nation, So having those guys around me, it helped me, really channel into being my best self. And that spring, me going through the process of trying to join the Omega Psi Phi was probably my best spring I ever had of all my college careers. And it's crazy because I can say my redshirt freshman year when I was at Missouri was my best year. I took a corner spot over a redshirt senior. But I think probably me trying to join Omega Psi Phi in the spring of 2019 was my best spring I had of college football. I was in the best shape of my life. I was the best mentally. I was locked into different things, different zones, different patterns. I knew where to be. I knew how to make plays on the ball. I left out of fall camp that year with probably the most production out of any DB. Like I had the most production in the safety room, but out of all the DBs between corners and safeties, I had the most production. And so Omega Psi Phi was probably the best thing that happened to me at Murray State. So I can say thank you to the Alpha Beta chapter of Omega Psi Phi.
Pretty much what I'm hearing, TJ, is that when you got to Murray and once you finally was able to pledge all the way, that those brothers in Omega Psi Phi fraternity, they changed you. They was like, man, they gave you that spunk back. Like, bro, you hang with us, we gonna show you. You got brothers and you got your swag back. And you went out there to continue to do your thing on the field. Again, a great career at Murray State. And, we're going to thank the Omega Psi Phi fraternity for that, for giving you your spunk back. Now, with that, comparing your two situations that you went through. So you went to Missouri and you went to Murray. When you got to Murray, you experienced the D1 AA level. When you was at Missouri, you experienced the highest of high levels of college football. Which one would you do again? Or if you would do any of those again, like which level would you say you would want to play at? Whether it's the D1 AA, the SCS, somewhere in between, like where would you want to play college football if you had a chance to do it again?
Honestly, I would have chose in between. So what they call those people is major five. I mean, what they call major, the major levels, the D1 major levels, so your CS USA, your MAC
Sun Belt, yeah, places like that, like
places
Detroit,
like that. Yeah. Memphis and your Middle Tennessee, the Cincinnati, schools like that. I probably would have chosen a school like that. So like Marshall was the CS Conference USA. I probably would have chose them just because those were the best athletes are. They're in D1AA and mid-majors. There we go, mid-majors. That's what they are, just because that's where you see a lot of athletes that didn't have those grades or didn't have those big name capes. Like Coach Elder was a big name. Like, granted to say, like, he was a name, like he played under Bear Bryant. Who's not respecting that player that played at Alabama under Bear Bryant?
Yeah.
I will. And so, and so like those guys that didn't get those chances where they had to go to those mid-majors, I feel like those are probably the best players I ever played against. I probably would have went there if I had the chance.
Now, there's a couple people that I know that would agree with what you said. Like, hey, I would play at Marshall if I was given the second chance, because you would have been an offensive player for sure. I think throughout your time, you would have been an offensive player. Neville Hewitt, who also went to Rockdale County High School, went on to Marshall, and he was a great player for them. You would have been right there behind him as another great Rockdale player to come through Marshall. But to me, on the offensive end, instead of with Neville at linebacker and safety, you would have played on the offensive level. And to me, I think you would be in the league today or had a chance to play in the NFL today on the offensive level. So if you had a chance to do it again, I think Marshall would have been a great choice for you as well.
Indiana definitely threw that on the table. They'll let me play punt returner, kick returner, things like that. I mean, when my recruiter left in 2015, when I was about to sign, Alex Grinch, I love him to death to this day. When he left, I think my head coach, Coach Elder, brought me into the office right after that, probably the day of or the day after, and was like, "Hey, what you want to do?" Because he had schools calling me. They knew that was my recruiter. Probably the biggest thing I can say, and next to the biggest thing I can say in high school was like, I should have sat down and asked them what college is offering me as offensive player. Like you said many times in this podcast, I should have played offense. I think right then and there, I should have asked, hey, what school is offering me for offense? What school wants me for offense? Because I feel like I was a dynamic offensive player. One of my friends, Kijane Thomas, told me the other day, like, bro, when you had the ball in your hands, it was dynamic. And it's funny because some of these days I look up to some of my friends. I looked up to you, Kijane, Malik. To me, I thought I was subpar, and that was crazy that I get the recognition now from you and other friends that's saying, "Hey, bro, you was one of the ones." I'm not, and I didn't get that, but just because I used to be like, I got to keep up with y'all, and that's what was going through my head. I mean, I don't know if you knew. That's what I'm saying. It's a lot of things that I'm glad this podcast is doing between me and you. I mean, I looked to you and I was like, he's probably one of the physical guys I love. And I was like, hey, I got to be like DJ. Or I got to be like Kijane, my friend. He's on my team. I got to be like him. Or I got to be like Mo. He got all the speed. And so being around your guys elevated that game I had. So, it's a lot of things I wish I would have transitioned. I wish I would have took, but you can't live out those, choices that you made.
Thank you, bro, for that. I definitely do appreciate you saying that you looked up to me as a player. Of course, I didn't know that because as a player, you usually don't hype up other players. So, like, you wait till after your career is done or after their career is done and you say, hey, that player was really good. And I got you on here because I want to give you your flowers. There's a couple other athletes, of course, that I will go on to invite later on to give their flowers to personally, because you hold a lot of that stuff in. And again, I never knew what type of teammate I portrayed myself to be outside of just like, I'm just doing what I can to help the team. And if the guys on the team respect that and they think that was really good, cool. But we never like had those type of discussions. So I definitely appreciate you saying that, man. Like that means a lot. And yeah, but after you leave Murray, you go on to look for your aspirations of playing in the NFL. If you're not in college football, most players are like, I need an NFL chance. I need a pro chance, I need a CFL chance. I just need something. I need to continue playing. I don't want to get a game up yet. I'm 23, 24, maybe even younger. I need to keep playing. Like, I can feel it. I know I'm worth still playing, because once an athlete, always an athlete sort of thing. But you found your way up in there in Charlotte. You played for the arena football team there. Killed it up there as well. But it didn't lead to what you wanted in the end. Now, did you get success at Charlotte? Yes. Did you have a great time? I'm sure of it, because Charlotte, arena football, new place, new city, new lifestyle, all that comes with it. But what took place to lead you to get to the point to where it's like, man, COVID really got in the way of everything? Because at that time, you had your chances, I'm sure, coming around, because in arena, scouts come around, they look at those guys and, potentially for a chance. But in your time of being up there in Charlotte, once you really start to, hit the ground running, COVID comes around.
So basically, Charlotte was a great time. But that started from when my senior year. After the football season, you get invited to All-Star games. So I got invited to the HBCU All-Star game up in Roanoke, Virginia. And I went up there. I, handled business, because I took it as a business trip. Hey, I'm here to impress scouts. I'm here to try to get to the next level. This is 2020. I went up there, Roanoke, Martin Luther King weekend. Went up there and balled out. We won the game. I had 2 picks. I had like 6 tackles, I think. That whole week I was just flashing, very flashy. So the coaches told me after the game, they was like, hey, we have an arena team. If nothing works out for you, we're going to make sure we take you. I said, all right, I ain't really think about arena. I'm like, hey, if I ain't going to be in the NFL, I'm going to the CFL. I can play. I know I can. So when I saw that, and I was like, hey, well, 2020 happened, COVID happened, shut down, took scouts off the road, and it was like, hey, you don't got shit going on for yourself. And so when he hit me up that probably August, September, it was like, hey, we got an arena team. We're doing with Thomas Davis. You should get a lot of look. Thomas Davis and Ted Ginn, you should get a lot of look. We good. Ooh. I said, all right, say no more. I'll rock out with that. Another opportunity to play football. So that's how that came about. But playing football in that arena is so much. It shows if you really can cover space in a quick second. And I think that's what a lot of scouts don't understand. A lot of people don't respect arena football. And I understand, that's not outdoor football. You're not running. It's not 11 on 11. And it's not, But if you really look at it, the game of arena football, you have to cover a small amount of space in a amount of time. You know what I mean? It's not like you get 4 or 5 seconds back there in the pocket to sit around. No, it's 3 seconds at the most. If the D line is moving, you got 3 seconds at the most back there. You got to get the ball out. Everything is quicker. And people don't respect that just because, the field not the same size or you're not going the same distance. No. If you really look at it, it's like, hey, how fast can you think when the ball is moving at 3 miles per hour? When things are moving at a faster pace, being in that, it helped me realize you got to move at a faster pace. So I love arena football. Arena football was probably my best time of my life.
Yeah, arena football is definitely deserving of more respect than that. You go from a high college recruit to playing at a school where you do great things, and then not only do you do the great things at that school, you go on to arena and you do great things there. You was Rookie of the Year and getting all these awards and stuff up there in Charlotte. You're sending that stuff out, but then scouts are just not biting on it too much because COVID, and they just like, we'll just go with somebody else that got more recent film that's probably still in super great shape because they wasn't at home just chilling, whatever semantics that they want to use. But everyone, this was TJ Warren. He told his story here. He told you guys what happened at all those different levels to stop him from getting to his ultimate goal of the NFL. But he's found new passions and new dreams now. He's the defensive coordinator at Towers High School. Love that for him. He's leading the defense over there. TJ is a very energetic person, so I know those kids love having him around to help teach the game of football. Outside of that, TJ is a great person and mentor. He doesn't get in any trouble. He got his head on straight, and he's working on mental health. So with us heading out of here, just summing up your career, summing up the stories that you want to tell, we heading out of here now. I want to end this by asking you, how's your mental health now? Because, again, as an athlete, sometimes we don't talk. We let our play talk, and we don't talk at all, and we don't express ourselves. So people don't get to know who's behind that face mask or who's behind that awesome play. Like, what kind of person is that at the end of the day? Because, we're all still people. And I'm a big advocate on mental health. I want to make sure that I don't have anyone leave here without me knowing that they're in a good place, because I struggled at times myself. It's just things I'd never talked about to this day still with anybody, that you just struggle with mentally, about it with yourself. And we just want to know, like, how is your mental health today? What you got going on to keep yourself intact? Like, how do you find that balance now without the game of football? Because back then, you just like, oh, I got football practice today, I get my anger out there, or I'm lifting weights, I'm running, I'm doing this and that. But when you don't have a game to prepare for, or when you don't have anything to prepare for outside of just, coaching, you got another team to prepare for, but you don't have a lot of physical time to have that desire. Like, I'm going to keep myself in great shape like I used to, because, you got so many other things to worry about. And on top of all of that, I just want to add this in there, that TJ is also a father. Like, he's a father. He has a beautiful son that he's raising. He's just like TJ. He's just like TJ. And, that's something that you have to make sure that your mental health is ready for as well, because he's looking at you for all his positive energy. And so you have to make sure that you give that to him. So, again, I know I've asked this like 3 times now, but how's your mental health, brother?
My mental health is good. I'm getting there. I just moved into my own apartment, so I'm gathering my mental health, finding what it's like to be in myself and, think for myself and stuff like that. But, as a mental health, as an athlete, I can just gauge and think about why you're here, why you're waking up at 5 a.m, and why you're giving it so much effort when the effort is not given back to you. And that's what you just have to be in the mental state of what grinds your gears, what gets you going, what, put you in that position to make those plays and put you in those positions to be the best you can be. And so I'm in the mental state where I'm okay, and I love the decisions I made, and I just got to keep climbing from here. And that's what I can just give to the next person.
Can't agree more. I mean, they say you pour into those who pour into you, and you'll always be full, or something like that. I actually don't know if that's the actual saying or anything, but it's something similar to that. And again, bro, it's been really great having you on. I'm glad that you're in a good space. It takes time, like you said, and also congrats on your new apartment. It just takes time to fully get detached from being an athlete completely and understanding, like, there's more to me than that. Like, that's not all I am. That's not all my layers. And you've been my first guest. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Again, sack the like button, sack the subscribe button. We sack everything here at the Pass Rush Podcast. This has been your guy, TJ Warren, 4-star college athlete, Missouri, Murray State. He said it all. Love you, man. Great having you on.
See, love. Thank you, brother.
Wait, up and I shake the room.